I've been called for jury duty, Part 4, by Glitter Cricket.
What the heck?
A man yelled.
They can't do this to us.
Chaos broke out in the courtroom. Some people trying to bust the door down, some pacing the room, some crying. I went to Carmen. Tears were pooling in the corners of my eyes. I was scared. I had no shame in that. Carmen seemed like a motherly woman. She sensed my terror, and being the nice lady she was, put her hands on my shoulders and said,
"We are going to figure this out, but I need you to pull it together and get your head in the game. Do you understand?"
I nodded my head. I watched the room. Pandemonium. It felt like everything was in slow motion. Finally, a man yelled,
"Stop!"
Everyone got still.
"Listen, I think we are all on the same page here. We have the same goal. Now everyone sit down. All this commotion is not going to help us. We need to figure out what our next moves are."
Some people were sitting at the table sobbing. Some people were still voicing their anger.
"He's right,"
said Carmen as she stood up.
"Behaving like this is not going to help anyone. Maybe if we put our minds together we can come up with something,"
she continued.
"Like what? The whole situation is so messed up. Did they kill her? That lady? What if they hurt us? I just want to go home,"
another juror said as she sobbed.
"Let's all sit down and go around the room. Introduce ourselves. Give our personal opinion on what's going on here. Maybe gain perspective of not only what's happening, but why us,"
the man that had started the movement said. Everyone sat down. It was clear that we had to work together.
"My name is Miles. I'm a therapist. I'm not trying to shrink anyone, but I just want to help take control and calm everyone down. Adrenaline is pumping through us all right now, I know, but let's gain perspective on this. I'm Kyle. I agree with Miles. We need to work together."
Miles looked at Kyle and smiled.
"Thanks, Kyle. Now, maybe there is something we all have in common. Could it be we were all selected for a certain reason?"
He paused for a while to gauge the room.
"Okay. How about I ask questions, and you raise your hand to whatever applies?"
he asked. No one objected.
"Okay. Who here works a government job?"
One hand went up.
"Okay. Who's married?"
5 hands went up.
"What is the point of these stupid icebreaker questions? You should be asking the real questions, like what is the blackmail they have on us? All of us showed up, didn't we, after the threats? Obviously that means something. Mrs. Blevins sure straightened up the first day when Martin addressed her dirty laundry." "You know nothing about me, jerk,"
said Mrs. Blevins as she stood up and pointed down on him across the table.
"What's your name?"
asked Miles.
"Shane." "Mrs. Blevins, Shane's right. Whatever they've got on us was bad enough for all of us to ignore our intuition." "And?"
Mrs. Blevins popped back.
"What do my skeletons have to do with you guys?"
she asked.
Look, lady, we are just trying to find common ground,"
said Kyle. Then we all heard the doorknob start to rattle. Then a key turn. Martin opened the door.
"I apologize about this whole ordeal. It's been a hectic morning, eh?"
he finished with a smile.
"What the hell is going on?"
said a lady. Our game of tell us your name and something about you hadn't concluded, so I only knew 5 of the jurors' names. Well, 6 if you count Miss Yates.
"We had a couple of speed bumps this morning, I admit, but we are close to getting those resolved." "You locked us in here.
Carmen said as she stood up and shot him a glare. Everyone in the room got angry again.
It was for your own good. You don't know what she is capable of. What she's capable of? What about you?
Carmen shot back.
Me? What have I done?
He asked, placing his hand on his chest.
Did you kill her?
Asked Kyle.
Kill who?
Martin asked, looking concerned.
Mrs. Yates. We heard everything. The arguing, the screaming, the thump and the silence that followed it,
said Carmen.
I haven't seen Mrs. Yates since the last time any of you saw her, when she was running out of the courtroom. We haven't been able to track her down. She even left all her belongings in the locker, including her car keys. So you're telling us that you had nothing to do with why she was screaming and then thrown to the floor? We all heard it,
said Kyle.
I was ordering your lunch in Cheryl's office. Then I placed a call to check on the status of the lawyer,
Martin replied.
But you did lock us in, though,
shot Mrs. Blevins.
Well, yes, but only to keep you safe. I didn't harm Miss Yates. Hell, I didn't even see her. To keep us safe from who?
A juror asked.
To keep you safe from what?
Martin corrected the juror. He took a seat at the table with us.
Look, I know you guys must be very frustrated and probably confused,
he said as he clasped his hands together at the table.
Yeah,
someone shouted.
Can we all just calm down? Lunch will soon be here. We will eat, take a breather, and go back to the courtroom,
he said in a calm voice. His demeanor and voice relaxed me. For a moment, I felt at ease. Then I remembered where I was.
Martin, can you tell us what's wrong with this girl?
I asked.
She's sick, Mrs. Gwynn. Very sick,
he said.
So why isn't she in a psych ward or a facility that can help her?
Well, that's the issue. Every place she goes, people end up dying. She has a power over people. Manipulation?
Asked Kyle.
Well, no. More like control. It seems as though if she wants someone to do something, they do it. No matter how out of character it is for that person, no matter how wrong, they just do it,
he said as he looked down at his hands. I was very apprehensive of Martin at first, but seeing him now, like this, he looked as scared as us, like he too had been forced into this situation, trapped.
So, what's the end goal here then? Won't more just die wherever we send her?
Asked Kyle.
We are seeking the death penalty,
Martin replied.
Even then, people will die while she awaits death row,
said Kyle.
And it still doesn't explain what happened to Miss Yates,
Miles said. And it didn't. We still had no answers, but with Martin insisting that he knew nothing of it, and being that none of us had evidence, what was the point in continuing to push it, at least for now? We had to think about what our next moves were, how to stay alive and under the influence of our own minds, not hers. Lunch arrived, and everyone ate in silence. Some people finished their meals, others just picked at them. I didn't really have an appetite, but I didn't know the next time I'd get to eat, so I tried to choke down as much as I could. My cold Dr. Pepper distracted me from all the madness for a moment. It was the only thing I had really enjoyed today. Martin had stepped out of the room for a moment to make a call. He came back in as most of us were throwing our trash and cleaning up.
All right, guys, we are about to head back down,
he said. I felt the tension rise back up in the room. High tide. I felt like it had only just started to ease up, but we knew where we were going and what we were going back to.
We only have 11 jurors, though,
said a juror.
We have to proceed. There is no time to find another one,
Martin said back. We followed him once more through all the twists and turns, back down the concrete stairs, through the Victorian-style door. We were the first to arrive. No one else was in there yet. As we walked single file down the aisle and to our jury box, Carmen leaned over my shoulder from behind and whispered,
"We all heard Mrs. Yates, right?"
she asked.
"Yes, all of us,"
I assured her.
"But we never heard anyone speaking to her, did we? I mean, we only heard her."
I thought for a moment. She was right. As close as Mrs. Yates was to the door, we would have heard the other person. But we hadn't heard anyone else. Only a one-sided conversation. Who was this last person to see her? Who was she talking to? I took a seat. Carmen was right about what she had said earlier. Something was very wrong here.